Hello, everybody. It's your buddy Sean here. Just checking in on you. I had a client cancel, so sort of my schedule got freed up here a bit this afternoon. And so mine was the chat that I had at the CBA today, where um, I and another lady were talking to a group of articling students about client and practice management. Now, I told a couple of stories. One that was from when I was a student, where what happened was a lady came in with a legal issue where her spouse had passed away. She needed a grant of administration to transfer the home into her name. And so I sat down with her. I was a student at the time, fresh and young and eager, and didn't know anything. But even so, I sat down and explained to her the process of getting a grant and what our fees would be, and in case if there was a contentious matter, what would happen then. And she seemed very happy and fine with that. And then the next day she called me and she was absolutely freaking out, and she wanted her file back because I had a file with title and some bank statements. So I said, okay, fine, that's you are going to need to get this grant, but it's your property and I'll give it back to you. No issue. No issue. I just want to make sure you're taken care of. So I drafted a letter because I was a little worried about where she was coming from here and the rapid change in mood. So the letter is sort of colloquially known as a CYA letter. And I just laid out, well, listen, my understanding is that you are going to need to get a grant at some point, and that you're probably going to need a lawyer to get this for you, and a few other things that I needed to cover off of her. And so she came to our office, and she had a very large gentleman with her who was essentially muscle, as though I wasn't going to give the file over or some other thing. But I just said, oh, here you go. Sorry I couldn't have been more clear or more helpful, and all the best. And so she was a little shocked that I gave it up so easily. So I don't know what the issue was there, and my staff made fun of me for the fact that she brought sort of an enforcer to make sure she got her file back. But the lesson learned here, and the lesson that I'd like to pass on to lawyers out there, especially young lawyers, is that you don't necessarily know what's going on with your client. You can only see so much or understand so much, particularly when you're young. When you're older and you have better people skills and you've gone through a whole bunch of scenarios like that, you're going to have a better ability to read people and understand them and know what they're going through. I mean, there could have been a number of things at play here. It could have been a certain amount of dementia. There could have been prescription or other drugs or alcohol involved. You really don't know. And there's probably a degree of grief too, given that, that it was a relatively recent death. And that makes people who are already unpredictable that much more unpredictable. So, anyways, I just like to put that out there and learn from that lesson that I had to learn there. And hopefully, you can take something from that. And the other story I'd like to talk about is I had a client in my office once, and this client had essentially sort of a manic episode. And, she was crying uncontrollably, and I didn't know what to do. And she said, my life is over. I want to kill myself. She was totally inconsolable. So I sort of, essentially, heard her out, and then I was like, geez. Then I started to worry. I said, what if she did do that act to herself? What should I do? How can I help her? What do I need to think about? And I was lucky enough to have a friend who's a psychiatrist, so I talked to her, and she said, essentially pending solicitor-client privilege or confidentiality, if you think that she has a gun to her head, so to speak, call 911. She gave me a list of other resources to look at. So luckily in this case, I was able to talk with my client, and her friends were over with her, taking care of her that day, and she's fine now. But I actually went to counseling with my client, and we did that together, and you'll be happy to know that that client is doing well right now. So anyways, but that was just another scenario, and that was relatively recent, where, fast forward from the previous scenario where I've been practicing now for almost 9 years since that point, still learning about these tough situations that lawyers can find themselves in, where they're trying to do their best for their client, and it turns into a bit of a juggling act. So the other lady at our presentation today mentioned that this is sort of always a good thing to talk to your practice advisor about. And I agree wholly with that. Talk to the practice advisor. Not everyone has a psychiatrist. And I've been talking with another psychiatrist friend of mine about setting up a resource, sort of like essentially a flowchart that says, imminent danger, call 911, call practice advisor, call, these sorts of things. And, don't take that as legal advice, but this is just sort of what we are bandying about as we think about how to make sure lawyers know what to do in that situation, because it's a daunting situation, obviously tough on the client, tough on the lawyer. And so anyways, yeah, it was a really good little session. The students, I shouldn't say kids, because some of them are older than me and they're all adults. And so the law students asked great questions. They seemed like a bright bunch, and they were a pleasure to be around. So I'd like to thank the CBA, my friend Will Cates, for inviting me over there. Anyways, I just had that thought on the top of my head, had a little extra time, and thought I would put that out there for you. So hopefully that's of some help to you, whether you're a lawyer or not, and or you just had a laugh at the idea of someone bringing in a muscle on me. Pretty friendly guy, I think. Anyways, I hope that you're doing good, and we will talk to you later.